What's going on, people? Mike Seatown here with another episode of Out of My Element, where you guys get to pick the album that I review. And the winner of the poll for this video is Joanna Newsom, Yeast. So before we get into it, this was a Patreon-only poll, meaning only my Patreon supporters could add artists to this poll, and only they could vote on artists on this poll. I try to do one that's public, and then the next one that's Patreon only, then the next one public, etc., etc. So, yeah. First things first, man, I really cannot figure out what interests you guys, man. This was such an odd pick to me. I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but it's an odd pick. Meaning, of all the albums, I cannot figure out why you'd be so interested in my opinions on this one. But that's what makes this whole thing fun. But to start off, Joanna Newsom is definitely not out of my element. I don't think I've talked about her on my channel, but that's only because I don't have anything of hers on vinyl. I do have this on CD though. But yeah, I've talked about folk music plenty on here. You know, I'm a big fan of psychedelic folk, acid folk, typically the darker stuff, but folk in general. And I'm also a fan of Swans, which is actually how I found Joanna Newsom. She played in Atlanta with Angels of Light and Devendra Banhart. I don't remember what year this was, but this was long before she was super popular. She actually opened that show, and I don't think I was familiar with her at the time, but she blew me away. Around this time, it was just her and the harp on stage, nothing else, and I thought it was amazing. You know, her style of weird, stripped-down folk songs that were quirky and playful. I was in love with it. You know, I don't remember if Milk-Eyed Mender was out at the time or not, but I know when I got that album, I absolutely wore it out. You know, it was totally in line with my tastes at that time, because I was listening to a lot of Pentangle, Incredible String Band, Vashti Bunyan, just a lot of psychedelic folk stuff. But I remember being really obsessed with Shirley Collins at this time. So yeah, Milk-Eyed Mender was right on time for me because it felt like a spiritual sister to a Shirley Collins album. But yeah, Milk-Eyed Mender came out in 2004 on Drag City, and Yeast came out in 2006. And I remember being so excited to hear more of what she was giving us. The thing is, that's not exactly what we got. You know, this was a big jump in sound to me. The music wasn't quite as frail as before because it wasn't as stripped back. You know, on Yeast, it was no longer just Joanna and her harp. Now we had a lot more strings, horns. You know, it was a full-on orchestra. At the time, that sound was night and day for me, and I honestly did not love this album. And I still don't. I think this album is really good, but I don't return to it nearly as much as I do Milk-Eyed Mender, which could be stupid. You know, it could just be like, I heard Milk-Eyed Mender first, so I just want to hear that more. But I have to be honest, whenever I put Yeast on, fairly quickly, I just feel like turning it off and listening to Milk-Eyed Mender. Milk-Eyed Mender is my favorite one of her projects. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion. I think the only other person I've heard say that is Ryan from Not Real Music. So it is what it is. But yeah, I knew something was odd with this album when I saw that it only had 5 songs on it, but it was still like an hour long. You know, this one isn't just a collection of songs here. On this one, she's actually telling stories with an orchestra background, and it just comes across like a concept album or a soundtrack to a musical stage play. You know, of course, I learned later more about the concepts, which made the creation and the laying out of this album really amazing. But it starts off with Emily, and I immediately noticed that the song had so much more going on than the songs on Milk-Eyed Mender. You know, there's just so many strings happening here. Violins are fluttering in and out of the track, and the lyrics are beautiful, just in a different way than what she was doing before. I felt like I could sort of follow her before, but not on this one. You know, sure, I know the song's about her sister and how she's more adventurous in life than Joanna is, but it didn't immediately connect with me when I first heard it. You know, I feel like the playing is still fantastic. I think the songs just lose me because they seem to just kind of go on and on and on. The next song, Monkey and Bear, is pretty similar to the first one. You know, I understand that it's supposed to be the origin of Ursa Major in some weird Joanna Newsom kind of way, but I just don't follow any of it. I just feel like it goes and goes. Another thing is, Incredible String Band, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. They have songs like this, like a Very Cellular song, where they're telling a weird abstract story, not using a standard verse chorus type of approach, over an instrumental that almost feels like it's improvised, as no parts repeat themselves clearly that I can remember, at least, and it's 13 minutes long. But I love that song. But the thing is, on an Incredible String Band album, it felt like those songs were usually just kind of sprinkled in, whereas with this song, it's right after a very similar one, so it's almost exhausting to listen to. And this is one of the times that I feel like this album would make much more sense as a musical or something, because her words are beautiful and the way she lays them out is beautiful, but they just beg for visual aids. There are glimpses of the older sound on here, like on Sawdust and Diamonds, which is easily my favorite song on the album. It's beautiful. The stripped back approach definitely appeals to me more than the orchestrated one. And I think that the lyrics are the best on this song. It seems to me to be about her pondering love and mortality and her partner's dedication to her amongst all of that. And, I know she was going through some sort of relationship shit around this time. Don't know the details. And I don't know if this song is a direct reference to that, since the lyrics are still rather abstract. But I really love the lines that open and close this song. From the top of the flight of the wide white stairs, through the rest of my life, do you wait for me there? What do they mean? Fuck if I know. But I've always appreciated artists whose words I can use to relate to my own situations. And I've always thought of this song as sort of looking up at a lover who's looking down on you. And maybe someone who feels like their lover is on an elevated plane in terms of life, or just, or just someone that you feel inferior to, and then wondering why that person's with you in the first place, and wondering if they'll be in that same elevated spot waiting for you to finally do something with yourself, or believe in yourself, or take steps to get where they are, and you just wanting that reassurance that they'll be there waiting for you to congratulate you when you finally do it, when you finally get to that level. Now, I'm 99.9% sure that has absolutely fuck all to do with what Joanna Newsom is talking about here, but I still like those lines for this particular reason. Only Skin. I'm not sure what there is to say about this one. I feel the same way about this song as I do about all of the others outside of Sawdust and Diamonds. This one, I feel more so goes on and on and on a bit too much for me. The instrumental layout is very similar to the other songs, in my opinion, and her vocal performance is really pretty, but it's not really any different from the other songs. It was cool hearing her with Bill Callahan, though. And I really don't glean too much from the lyrics either. I love coded lyrics a lot, but Joanna's just typically go straight over my head. And due to the length and layout of this song, the lyrics just don't jump out at me. But yeah, overall, I think this album is good. It's well made, and the way she approaches songs was really cool and imaginative. But to be honest here, I just don't listen to this album. I actually like the two albums that followed this one more than this one. I really liked Divers, as she stuck her toe even deeper into the pop pool, and I feel like that sound works really well for her and her voice. But Yeast just always felt a bit like a chore to listen through. But I do really love the cover, though. I love the detail of this painting. Do I understand all of it? Of course not. Obviously, the moth is a representation of change and transformation. I think moths also represent inner wisdom, so I get it. Clearly Joanna was going through some really deep shit around the time that she wrote this album, and by the end we can just assume that she came out on the other side as a different and stronger person. The rest of the shit on this cover, I don't know. I'm sure if I sat down and dug through every piece of it and then Googled it, I could figure out what each of these symbols represent, but I don't feel like I like the album enough for me to do that. So if you know what it all means, be sure to drop a comment down there. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's my opinion on this one, man. Like it or leave it, I guess. But yeah, drop some comments down there in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think of this album. Let me know what your favorite Joanna Newsom album is. And if you're really bored, let me know how you found her. Because her upward trajectory as far as career goes has been very, very interesting to me. But yeah, outside of that, if you want to be someone that can put albums onto the poll for these videos, go become a patron. You can do that for as little as $1 a month, and I appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, that's it. As usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out.